Alright, settle in. Lean closer. What if I told you that the next 12 months of your life are on track to be a carbon copy of the last 12? An exact, soul-crushing repeat. Unless you decide right here, right now, that enough is enough. What if the real monster under your bed isn't some colossal failure, but the slow, silent, day-by-day surrender to drift? And what if I told you millions of good, capable men are sleepwalking through their one shot at life, not because they're broken, but because they never made the ironclad decision to rise? Now, listen to me. This isn't just another speech to fill your ears. This is a line drawn in the wide, American dirt. This isn't information to be filed away. This is a blueprint for transformation, but it only gets built if you choose to pick up the hammer and install it. You're not here for a show. You're here for an awakening. Because if you're brutally honest, a voice deep inside you, that gut feeling that's always right, has been whispering for years that you were meant for something more. But knowing, my friend, knowing is just the starting gun. Most men know. Precious few truly decide. Even fewer take that first, gut-wrenching step. And almost none repeat that step, day in and day out, rain or shine, until that action becomes welded to their very identity. That's the continental divide between the architects of destiny and the silent victims of drift. Let me put a question to you, the same one I've posed to some of the sharpest minds this nation has produced. What is your life truly costing you, right now, by not living it with absolute, unwavering purpose? I peeled back the layers of men who shaped this country. Thomas Edison, who battled through 10,000 failures in his New Jersey workshop before a single light bulb flickered to life, illuminating not just a room, but the future. Henry Ford, who weathered the scorn of a nation convinced his horseless carriage was a fool's dream, yet still put America on wheels. Abraham Lincoln, who, with the heart of the country tearing itself apart, held it together with sheer, unyielding will. Charles Schwab, who rose from a stake driver to captain of industry. Andrew Carnegie, a penniless Scottish immigrant boy who landed on these shores and forged an empire of steel and spirit. I didn't study them to just gawk at their statues. I studied them to excavate the raw materials of their inevitability. And here's the gold I dug up. They didn't live by luck. They lived by choice. They didn't wander. They decided. They didn't just hope. They moved decisively, relentlessly. And more than anything, they never wasted a precious year waiting for someone else's permission, for a lightning bolt of motivation, or for some mythical perfect time. They didn't catch a lucky break. They got to work. If you're hearing my voice right now, it's because that same flicker inside you knows the way you've been existing, waiting, wandering, wishing, just can't go on. Another year vanishing into the fog of confusion. Another year surrendered to the deceptive warmth of your comfort zone. Another year sucked down by the quicksand of hesitation, that endless loop of overthinking, and those invisible walls of fear. You already know where that road leads. It leads to a graveyard of forgotten dreams. It leads to an identity so watered down you barely recognize yourself. It leads to that gut-wrenching regret when you're on your deathbed, and the ghosts of every magnificent possibility you never chase gather round to ask, why? Why did you leave us to die? You weren't put on this earth to live the same year 10 times and call it a decade of progress. And yet, that's the American tragedy for so many. They make those vague New Year's resolutions. They talk a big game over beers on a Friday night. But come Monday morning, nothing truly changes. They wake up the same man, day after day, because they never dug deep and installed the iron discipline required to forge someone new. Understand this, and let it sink into your bones. Time itself doesn't change your life. You change your life. And that only happens when you seize the controls of your own mind. That clock on the wall, it just keeps ticking, whether you're charging forward or stuck in park. And the rawest truth I've ever had to lay on a man is this. The future doesn't get brighter by accident. It only gets better by design. If you want this year, this next chapter, to be fundamentally different, then you must become fundamentally different. And the way you do that isn't through some fleeting emotion, or a temporary jolt of motivation. It's through a process, a system I've dedicated my life to refining. A process built on a bedrock of definite purpose, ruthless decision-making, auto-suggestion repeated daily with volcanic emotion, mastery of thought, feeling, and action, and a relentless rhythm and repetition until your very identity shifts, until that new man becomes who you are. That, my friend, is the only road. Let me make this painfully crystal clear. This message you're hearing, it won't change a damn thing unless you choose to make it your daily bread. You can't just hear this. You've got to install it. You've got to internalize it, tattoo it on your soul. You must come back to it again and again and again until that old, hesitant self cracks and crumbles under the sheer, unyielding weight of your new belief. You don't need more information. You've got libraries of that. You need reprogramming. Your current self, the one that's drifting, delaying, second-guessing every move, that self was built by repetition. The repetition of fear. The repetition of excuses. The repetition of those half-hearted habits that lead nowhere. And if repetition built the weaker you, then repetition, forged in fire and discipline, must now build the unbreakable you. That's why I'm telling you, don't just listen once. Listen every single day. Let it be the first voice you hear in the morning until this message becomes memory. Until memory becomes instinct. Until instinct becomes you. You've got 12 fresh months laid out before you. 12 chapters in your story. 365 chances to rewrite the script. The only question that matters now, the one that should burn in your mind, is this. Who are you becoming with them? Let this moment, hearing these words, mark the absolute death of hesitation in your life. Let this become the dawn of undeniable clarity. Let this message be the trumpet blast signaling that this is the year everything changes because you finally, irrevocably, do. Now take a deep, deliberate breath. Because the words that follow are designed to strip away every last excuse you've ever clung to. And if you truly listen, if you burn this into your mind with relentless repetition, with focused action, with unquenchable fire, you will never, ever be the same man again. Let us begin. Let's cut through the noise and speak plainly. Most men aren't truly living. They're adrift like a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the currents of circumstance. They don't decide. They defer. They don't walk with the unwavering stride of purpose. They wander lost in a self-created fog. They don't live by design. They merely exist by default. I call this soul-crushing condition drift. And mark my words, if you do not master your mind, and the world it allows in, will master you. And drift is the first insidious symptom. In my private dialogues with that allegorical figure of the devil, as I laid bare in Outwitting the Devil, I wrestled from him his most potent weapon for enslaving the minds of men. And what was it? Not some headline-grabbing addiction, not brutal violence, not even the cold grip of raw fear. It was drift. He confessed, his voice dripping with ancient cunning, I cause people to drift through life without any discernible purpose or plan. I manipulate them through their ingrained habits, their unchecked appetites, their shadowy fears, and their seductive laziness. I don't need to actively destroy a man. I only need to lull him into drifting, and he will inevitably destroy himself. This isn't some fictional tale, my friend. This is the real enemy, the silent saboteur of human potential. A drifter isn't an evil man. He's simply a man who's fallen asleep at the wheel of his own life. A drifter isn't without immense potential. He's merely without a North Star, a definite purpose to guide him. A drifter isn't doomed by some cruel twist of fate. He is doomed by the cancer of indecision. And what makes this tragedy even sharper? Most men never even realize they're drifting. They live the same damn day, over and over, convincing themselves they're diligently working towards something, all while actively delaying the very bedrock decisions that would ignite true change in their lives. They procrastinate, that thief of time. They overthink every minor detail into paralysis. They eagerly chase every glittering distraction the world dangles before them. They tell themselves, oh, I'll get started next week. I'll figure it all out soon. I just need a little more time, but those days bleed into months. Those months morph into years. And suddenly, they find themselves at midlife, staring into the mirror, directionless, still spinning their wheels in the mud, still trying to calm themselves into believing that someday they'll finally rise to the occasion. Let me deliver the ice-cold truth, the kind that stings but awakens. Most men will draw their last breath as drifters, and tragically, they won't even know it. They will leave no lasting impact, build nothing of true substance. And worst of all, they will go to their graves with their magnificent potential still locked inside them, untouched, unrealized, ultimately forgotten. And why? Because they never, ever made the conscious, unyielding decision to seize control of their own minds. And so, the world, with all its noise and negativity, controlled it for them. You must tattoo this on your soul right now. Drift is the default setting for the undisciplined man. If you do not have a concrete, written plan for your own life, you are already, by default, a cog in someone else's. If you do not consciously, deliberately direct your own mind, it will unconsciously meander down the path of least resistance. And that path, my friend, always leads to the barren plains of mediocrity. You cannot accept this fate, because the gnawing pain of regret, the soul ache of what could have been, the sharp sting of watching other men build legacies while you're caught in the quicksand of hesitation, that pain is infinitely worse than any temporary discomfort discipline will ever demand of you. I have said it countless times, and I will shout it from the mountaintops again. The man who cannot control his own mind will never control his destiny. Now, let me paint you a picture of the chasm between the drifter and the decided man. The drifter waits for conditions to be perfect. The decided man acts to make conditions perfect. The drifter reacts to life's punches. The decided man designs his own fight. The drifter lives in mortal fear of failure. The decided man knows that failure is nothing more than feedback, a lesson learned on the path to victory. The drifter craves external permission, a pat on the back. The decided man gives himself internal, unwavering orders. You must become a decided man. You must declare an all-out war on drift. Not next week when you feel like it, not when things calm down, but right here, right now. And how do you ignite this transformation? You install what I have long called the definite chief aim. This isn't some flimsy wish scribbled on a napkin. It's not a vague, fuzzy desire. It's not a journal entry dashed off at midnight and forgotten by dawn. It is the single, dominating, all-consuming purpose of your life, written in stone, burned into your subconscious, and repeated with raw, unadulterated emotion every single day until it becomes as much a part of you as your own heartbeat. Without it, you will wander in circles. With it, you will build empires. Your definite chief aim is your unbreakable anchor in life's fiercest storms. It's your unerring compass when confusion fogs your path. It's your high-octane fuel when fatigue screams for you to quit. Every single man who ever etched his name into the annals of history, Carnegie, with his vision of steel connecting a nation, Ford, with his dream of putting every family behind the wheel, Edison, with his relentless pursuit of light in the darkness, Lincoln, with his unwavering resolve to preserve a union, they all had this one thing blazing within them. They knew with absolute, bone-deep certainty exactly where they were going. Not someday, not eventually, but now. And you must decide the same. No more vague, wishy-washy goals. No more soft, non-committal intentions. No more let's just see how it goes. That, my friend, is the language of drifters. You are here to take unapologetic command of your life. Let me hand you a tool. A weapon. Use it every single morning, before the world has a chance to whisper doubt into your ear. Speak it with power, with unwavering presence, with a fire in your belly. Say it out loud, so your own ears can hear the conviction. I know where I am going. I know who I am. I do not drift. I decide. I design. I dominate. Let this affirmation become your daily declaration of war. Let it shatter the old identity, that version of you who delayed, who merely hoped, who coasted on fumes. Every single time you utter those words with force and feeling, your subconscious mind, that loyal and powerful servant, listens intently. And every time your subconscious hears it charged with enough emotion, repeated with unwavering consistency, it installs the declaration as irrefutable truth. This isn't some hocus-pocus magic. This is mental engineering. You are consciously rewiring your own mind through strategic repetition. You are rewriting your identity through bold, unwavering command. You must now consciously, deliberately build a life, a fortress, where drift cannot find a crack to seep through. That means installing daily rituals, those non-negotiable blocks of power. That means forging ironclad discipline, especially when you don't feel like it. And that means systematically identifying and dynamiting every single escape route back into the fog of your old habits. Destroy the distractions that bleed your focus. Burn the bridges that lead back to your old, comfortable, drift-prone self. Because the cost of one more wasted year is not just 12 months vanished from the calendar. It is the insidious erosion of your very identity. You don't just lose time when you drift. You lose the magnificent man you could have become. So hear me now. This is your official, no excuses accepted wake-up call. Not from a friend trying to be nice, not from a boss handing down an order, but from the deepest, truest part of your own conscience. Drift is the silent killer of men's souls. It doesn't attack you head-on with fangs and claws. It seduces you with the lullaby of comfort. It doesn't violently steal your life. It subtly, persuasively convinces you to give it away, piece by precious piece. And the only cure, the only antidote, is a thunderous, earth-shaking decision. Declare your definite chief aim. Burn it into the fabric of your mind until it glows in the dark. And from this precise moment forward, repeat with me, with the conviction of a man reborn, I know where I am going, and I refuse to drift. Say it daily. Say it with the power of 1,000 armies. Because you will either program your own mind for victory, or the world, with its endless chorus of mediocrity, will gladly do it for you. And I assure you, the world is masterfully built to keep you drifting. There's a fundamental secret, a master key that governs all human progress. Before man squanders his precious time, before he forfeits a golden opportunity, before he wakes up another year older but no closer to his heartfelt dream, he first, invariably, wastes his thoughts. He doesn't lose the year on his calendar initially. He loses it in the untamed wilderness of his own mind. A man's reality, the world he inhabits, is not dictated by the ticking clock, the volatile economy, or the unpredictable weather. It is forged day by the dominion or lack thereof he exercises over his own thinking. All that you are, all that you ever become, all that you ultimately achieve, begins as a single, silent thought. Every heartbreaking failure is first permitted, even welcomed in the mind. Every triumphant success is first meticulously constructed, brick by brick, in the invisible workshop of the mind. This isn't some airy-fairy theory, my friend. This is universal law. As I've stated emphatically in Think and Grow Rich, more gold has been mined from the thoughts of men than has ever been dug from the earth itself. And that truth rings truer today than ever before. The average man lives his life by sheer, unthinking reaction. He is told what to think, what to fear, what to chase by the ever-present noise of the world. He tunes into voices that are not his own authentic voice. He passively receives thoughts like a beggar accepts stray crumbs, and then he scratches his head in bewilderment, wondering why his life feels so small, so constrained. But the uncommon man, the man who forges himself into the master of his own destiny, he doesn't wait for life to hand him a script of beliefs. He commands his mind. He decisively dictates what will be thought within its sacred walls. He consciously chooses what shall be believed. And he repeats those chosen thoughts with such emotional intensity and unwavering frequency that they carve themselves into the very fabric of his being, becoming the blueprint of his reality. Your year will not be squandered because you were too busy. It will not be lost because conditions were difficult. No. Your year and all the precious opportunities within it will be utterly wasted if you allow the world to carelessly scribble its anxieties and limitations all over the ledger of your thoughts. Because the mind left untrained, undisciplined, becomes like a sponge, indiscriminately soaking up every floating fear, every whispered limitation, every seductive excuse that drifts by. And soon, those passively absorbed thoughts solidify into deeply ingrained beliefs. Those beliefs then dictate your choices. And those choices, my friend, become the unyielding reality of your calendar, your days, your life. Do you truly grasp the gravity of what I'm saying? Your entire coming year is being architected in advance right now by the silent, daily procession of thoughts you choose to entertain, to nurture, or to reject. That is precisely why I have insisted for decades, tirelessly, on the strategic, non-negotiable use of autosuggestion, the daily, deliberate, emotionally charged repetition of chosen, empowering thoughts. This is how a man reclaims the pen of his own life story and writes a saga of triumph instead of a footnote of regret. If you do not consciously practice autosuggestion to program your own mind, rest assured, the world will gleefully perform it on you. You will be hypnotized, not by some cloaked figure swinging a pocket watch, but by the relentless rhythm of digital distractions, the incessant repetition of media-fueled fear, and the pervasive reinforcement of soul-crushing mediocrity. If you allow your mind to drift aimlessly in thought, your body, your actions, your entire life will inevitably drift in reality. The great men I dedicated my life to studying, Carnegie, with his colossal steel empire born from a single, burning idea. Edison, whose relentless mind illuminated the world. Ford, who revolutionized industry by refusing to accept impossible, each shared the same potent secret. They fiercely, obsessively repeated their core aim. They vividly, consistently visualized the desired result. They adamantly refused to permit a single, solitary thought that contradicted their central objective. They weren't just lucky, luck is a bystander. They were ruthlessly, intentionally focused. They understood this immutable truth. Thought is cause. Circumstance is merely effect. If you find yourself losing time this year, it is because you first lost command of your thoughts. And if you squander yet another precious year, it will not be because you lack sufficient time. It will be because you failed to deliberately program the mind that governs your use of that time. A man cannot achieve externally what he has not first fiercely, unyieldingly demanded internally. Your habits, those invisible architects of your life, begin in your thoughts. Your ultimate direction begins in your thoughts. And even your bedrock self-respect, the foundation of all true success, begins in your thoughts. So let me ask you, with all the directness I can muster, are you actively, consciously feeding your mind the noble thoughts of a king, or are you passively allowing it to graze on the fear-laced noise of a coward? Because every single time you utter those deflating words, I'll wait, I'll see, I'll decide later, you are actively forfeiting the steering wheel of your own life, and you can be damn sure someone else, with their own agenda, is eagerly grabbing it. Every man, without exception, walks in the direction of his most repeated thoughts. So if your thoughts are undisciplined, chaotic, and fear-driven, your life will inevitably reflect that chaos. But if your thoughts are governed, focused, and infused with purpose, your path will be unmistakably guided by an inner strength that the world cannot deny. Let me share with you the tool, the master key, that changed everything for me, and for the thousands of men I've had the honor to teach, men who went from drifting in the fog to building empires of their own choosing. It is the daily, unwavering practice of autosuggestion, supercharged with genuine, heartfelt emotion. This is not merely the dull, lifeless repetition of words. It is speaking them with such power that the air crackles around you. It is writing them down as if etching them into universal law. It is engraving them into the deepest recesses of your soul through strategic, emotional repetition. You must speak into existence the identity you are consciously, deliberately becoming. And you must do it daily with the fierce consistency of a warrior honing his blade, because the world, my friend, speaks its insidious whispers of fear and limitation into your ear hourly. I do not say this for mere fleeting inspiration. I say it because your subconscious mind, that tireless, faithful servant, is always listening. It does not act upon occasional, whimsical thoughts. It acts upon your dominant thoughts, the ones you feed it most consistently and with the greatest emotional charge. What you repeat with raw, unadulterated emotion becomes what you profoundly believe. And what you profoundly believe becomes what you inevitably build in your life. You may say to me, but Mr. Hill, what if I don't truly believe these powerful words yet? And I would answer you with unwavering conviction, you do not speak them because they are currently true. You speak them until they become undeniably true. You are not lying to yourself. You are leading your mind, courageously guiding it toward a higher vision. You are not pretending. You are strategically programming your internal operating system for success. Let your mind hear this daily, without fail, like a sacred vow. I command my thoughts. I do not obey fear. I do not drift. I decide. I dominate. I write my year with unshakable intention. I write my day with unwavering purpose. I command my direction, and the world must follow. Say it upon rising, before the world has a chance to stain your canvas. Say it before you rest, etching your victory into the night. Say it when that insidious voice of doubt, that familiar ghost of failures past, attempts to visit you. And say it not in timid whispers, but in thunderous declarations that shake the very foundations of your old limitations. You must visualize yourself walking in undeniable strength. You must see yourself rising, phoenix-like, while others hesitate and delay. You must feel the raw power of command radiating from within you, like a sun banishing the shadows. Because what the world ultimately sees in you, what it eventually gives to you, what it reluctantly permits you to do, will always, without exception, be in direct proportion to what you deeply, unshakably believe you are allowed to have, to be, and to achieve. Do not let another precious year slip through your fingers because you obeyed the hollow whispers of fear. Do not arrive at another December, staring out the window, wondering with a heavy heart how the months vanished like smoke. The answer, my friend, is always found in the mind. So reclaim it now. Program it now. Repeat your power now. This is how you utterly destroy drift. This is how you ignite unstoppable momentum. This is how you reclaim your time before it is irretrievably lost to the sands of regret. Let me leave you with this final, burning truth. There are men who walk this earth as mere shadows, not because they were born weak, but because they never learned to think with power, with intention, with command. And then there are men who reshape history, who bend the arc of progress, not primarily because of inherited wealth or some mystical genius, but because they commanded their thoughts like a five-star general commands his victorious army. You possess that same magnificent mind. You have that same innate ability. And you now have this speech, this instruction, this blueprint, as your unwavering tool. Use it. Repeat it. Install it. Because your time, your very life, is already being written, moment by moment, either by the chaotic whims of the world, or by you. Say it once more, with every ounce of fire in your soul. I command my thoughts. I do not obey fear. Let that be the relentless, triumphant drumbeat of your day, your week, your year. Because when you own your mind, you own your year. And when you own your year, you absolutely, undeniably change your life. Success, my friend, isn't some sudden thunderclap out of a clear blue sky. It's not a single, explosive detonation of opportunity, nor is it an accidental stumble into a pile of luck. Success, as I've witnessed in the life of every single man who ever clawed his way to genuine greatness, is the inevitable consequence of disciplined action, repeated day in and day out. Whether the crowd is roaring or the stadium is empty, whether the results are immediate or painstakingly slow, whether you're wrapped in the comfort of certainty or navigating the fog of the unknown. You must tattoo this truth onto your soul if you truly wish to stop the hemorrhaging of wasted time and finally begin constructing the magnificent life you were put on this earth to live. Most men bleed away years, precious, irreplaceable years, waiting for that mythical right moment. They stand on the sidelines, hesitating because they've been conditioned to believe that absolute clarity, or a lightning bolt of motivation, or a Brinks truck full of fortune must first arrive gift-wrapped on their doorstep before they can dare to begin their true work. But I tell you now, with all the force I can muster, this is a dangerous deception, a siren song luring you onto the rocks of mediocrity. There is no perfect right time, there is only the time you audaciously decide to begin. Every great cathedral, every towering skyscraper, every lasting empire was laid brick by painstaking brick, not in some sudden burst of televised glory, but in quiet, unseen, often unglamorous labor. Think of Thomas Edison, that bulldog of invention. Do you honestly believe the light bulb, that beacon that chased darkness from the world, was birthed in a single, divine flash of aha, genius? No! It was forged in the crucible of over 10,000 failed attempts, each one a silent testament to his refusal to quit. 10,000 experiments that the world would have labeled failure. 10,000 moments where his own mind surely whispered doubt. Yet he carried on, driven by an understanding of this fundamental truth. Repetition isn't punishment. Repetition is preparation. It is the sacred act of meticulously creating certainty where, to the outside eye, none yet exists. Edison knew that success was a structure, an edifice, so he bloody well built it, piece by laborious piece. And what of Henry Ford? That stubborn visionary was practically laughed out of boardrooms. He was dismissed as a crank, told his dream of a car for the common man was pure, unadulterated nonsense. Even his own trusted engineers threw up their hands in doubt, declaring his revolutionary 8-cylinder engine an engineering impossibility. But Ford believed. And he believed not just once, with a fleeting morning enthusiasm, but repeatedly, fiercely, through howling storms of failure and towering walls of rejection. He rehearsed his belief, day after grinding day, until that belief took tangible shape in shimmering metal and roaring motion. That, my friend, isn't magic. That is rhythm. That is the unyielding science of persistence. Success doesn't just descend from the clouds like a gentle rain. It rises, painstakingly, from the bedrock of your daily rituals. Every single day you neglect your foundational structure, your unwavering routine, your empowering self-talk, your laser-like focus, you weaken the very walls of your future. Every time you casually skip the basics because you don't feel inspired, or you're too tired, or you're nursing the sting of discouragement, you begin to silently, insidiously dismantle what you may have spent days, weeks, even months diligently building. And it doesn't collapse in a sudden, dramatic implosion. It crumbles slowly, silently, subtly, like erosion eating away at a coastline, until one day you look around in dazed bewilderment and realize you're standing amidst ruins. Not because life itself destroyed you, but because you stubbornly refused to build. So I ask you, with all seriousness, what is your structure? What are your non-negotiable, daily anchors that keep you tethered to your highest aspirations? Do you rise each morning with a fire of purpose in your belly, or do you just sort of drift into the day, reacting to whatever comes your way? Do you seize the first moments to affirm your core identity before the world tries to dictate it to you? Or do you let the incessant noise of negativity and distraction sculpt who you become by default? You simply cannot, expect to reap the bountiful rewards of greatness while sowing the seeds of mediocre discipline. In my deep dive research with the world's most accomplished men, those titans who literally reshaped industries and nations, I unearthed one common trait that blazed brighter than all others. Every single one of them possessed an unwavering definiteness of purpose. And that purpose wasn't some vague, fuzzy notion, nor was it some fair-weather friend, flexible to the emotional whims of the day. No, it was fixed, anchored, like a lighthouse on a storm-tossed coast. And each day, they acted in deliberate, unwavering alignment with that purpose, not necessarily with overwhelming, superhuman effort, but with disciplined, consistent, deliberate motion. They didn't try to do everything. They focused with surgical precision on doing the right things, again and again and again, until those actions became as natural as breathing. That, my friend, is the structure. That is the unshakable foundation. If you want to stop hemorrhaging years, you must first stop squandering days. And if you want to stop squandering days, then you must consciously, deliberately build your life around those sacred non-negotiables. Decide, right now, what must be done every single day to move your core mission forward, even by an inch. And then, with the grim determination of a warrior, do it, regardless of how you feel, regardless of the siren song of comfort or distraction. This is how steel is forged, under immense pressure, by searing fire, and through relentless repetition. And your life, your character, your ultimate success, will be no different. Your character, your unwavering strength, your tangible results, these are the bricks. Unyielding discipline is the mortar. And your vivid, compelling vision, that is the unbreakable blueprint. Every day you dare to skip the structure, you consciously choose delay and defeat. Every day you honor it, you decisively choose destiny. So what must be in your daily rhythm, your personal ritual of power? A sacred moment of stillness, of silence, to reconnect with the burning fire of your vision. A thunderous declaration of your chosen identity before the day even begins to dawn. I build myself daily. I do not skip the foundation. A steadfast commitment to one key act of creation or progress, no matter how seemingly small, no matter how challenging it feels in the moment. And an honest, unflinching reflection each evening. Did I build today, or did I merely wait? Did I act like the man I am fiercely determined to become, or did I allow myself to drift into the comfortable fog of distraction? You do not need 1,000 perfect actions scattered haphazardly. You need a handful of faithful, core actions, executed with white-hot intensity and unshakable belief, again and again and again. This, my friend, is how you fundamentally transform your life. Not by chasing some elusive, explosive breakthrough, but by painstakingly, deliberately constructing something permanent, something that endures. The daily grind, that relentless repetition, it's rarely glamorous, but it is absolutely holy. It is sacred, because each singular act of discipline is a powerful vote cast for the magnificent man you are in the process of becoming. Each repetition, no matter how tedious or dull it may feel in that fleeting moment, is another decisive strike of the chisel against the stubborn stone of your old, limiting identity. And if you continue, if you do not stop, if you refuse to yield, then one day, perhaps sooner than you think, you will look up from your work, catch your reflection, and realize with a jolt of recognition that you have become the living, breathing embodiment of the very vision that once seemed so distant, so unreachable, so utterly foreign to your perceived nature. That, my friend, is how true men are made. That is how lasting legacies are forged. So I say to you again, with every fiber of my being, success is not a singular, spectacular act. It is not a fleeting spark. It is not a lucky roll of the dice. It is the inevitable, cumulative result of painstakingly building a solid structure and then honoring it with unwavering fidelity, daily. The only question left hanging in the air, the one that demands an immediate answer from you, is this: will you build, or will you drift? Repeat after me, and let these words echo in the chambers of your soul. I build myself daily. I do not skip the foundation. Say it every morning like a sacred vow. Say it when no one else is watching, when the only audience is your own conscience. Say it with defiance when you feel the seductive pull to quit, to take the easy way out. Because the man who keeps building, relentlessly, consistently, even when no one claps, even when no one sees, even when the world seems indifferent, he is the man the world ultimately cannot, and will not, ignore forever. Now take a deep, fortifying breath. Look at the day stretched out before you. Then, with purpose and precision, lay the next damn brick. There is no force more lethally corrosive to your forward progress than the silent, creeping assassin called delay. Not failure, which can be a powerful teacher. Not fear, which can be a signal to act. Not even soul-crushing fatigue. No, delay is the quiet killer of dreams. It often creeps in disguised in the respectable robes of wisdom, whispering its seductive lies in gentle, reasonable tones. Just wait until you're truly ready. Hold off for a better time. Pause until the path ahead is perfectly clear. But those who heed this treacherous voice, those who bow to its counsel, they do not climb mountains. They remain rooted where they are, perpetually waiting, endlessly preparing, forever postponing the very life they were uniquely designed to live. Let me be absolutely, unequivocally clear, so there's no room for misunderstanding. Waiting for motivation to strike you like lightning is a dangerous lie. It's a profound betrayal of your own potential, dressed up in the ill-fitting clothes of logic. It is the dream's most effective assassin. Motivation, my friend, is a fickle luxury. It's an occasional guest who might visit now and then, but it absolutely cannot be trusted to rouse you from your slumber in the morning or to carry you across the finish line when your legs grow heavy and your spirit wanes. The man who foolishly depends upon the whims of motivation is like a farmer who bets his entire livelihood on perfectly predictable weather. He might see a bountiful harvest one year and face stark starvation the next. If you dissect the lives of the titans who truly shaped this world, Carnegie, with his industrial foresight, Edison with his relentless inventive spirit, Ford with his revolutionary vision, you will discover that none of them staked their success on the fleeting fancy of motivation. What they relied upon, what they built their empires upon, was decision, swift, committed, utterly final decision. Andrew Carnegie once told me, his eyes glinting with the wisdom of 1,000 battles, the man who hesitates is already defeated. The opportunity, like a spooked deer, is gone before he has even reached for it. He believed, as I do, with every fiber of my being, that success belongs to those who act, decisively and immediately, not to those who passively wait for some mythical alignment of perfect conditions. What is the seductive myth of someday if not a comforting fantasy, a mental cul-de-sac where ambition goes to die? How many countless men, good men with sparks of brilliance, go to their graves clutching tightly to visions that never saw the light of day? Ideas, ambitions, life-altering changes they solemnly promised themselves they'd finally begin. Once they felt truly ready, I have walked among thousands upon thousands of souls, all ostensibly in fervent pursuit of success. And I tell you now, the vast majority were not ultimately defeated by spectacular failure. They were insidiously defeated by delay. They simply waited too long. And the fire of ambition that once burned so brightly within them, that vibrant flame of possibility, eventually sputtered and grew cold, smothered beneath the heavy blankets of comfort, procrastination, and fear cunningly disguised as prudent caution. If you are currently waiting for the right time to take that bold step, you must understand, with chilling certainty, that there is no such thing. The right time is always, unequivocally, now. And if you do not make it now, if you do not seize this very moment, it's a harsh truth, but you will likely not make it ever. Emotional reasoning, the dangerous habit of letting your fleeting feelings dictate your actions, is one of the most destructive patterns a man can ever develop. I just don't feel like it today. I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm not inspired right now. These, my friend, are the self-inflicted death sentences of dreams. The successful man, the man who forges himself into an uncheckable force, does not slavishly obey his emotions. He commands them. He doesn't take his mood's temperature before acting. He moves and lets the mood scramble to catch up. You must cultivate, with fierce intention, a powerful bias for immediate execution. This isn't about reckless impulsivity. This is about profound responsibility. Responsibility to yourself, to your vision, to the magnificent life you have been uniquely called to build. The very moment the idea strikes with clarity, you act. The moment that insidious whisper of fear begins to curl in your gut, you defiantly walk forward. The moment the path, even a sliver of it, reveals itself, you do not pause to conduct a focus group or to overanalyze it into oblivion. You go. This is precisely how you build unstoppable momentum. This is how you train your nervous system, your very being, to trust your own resolve. When you act swiftly, with decisive intent, you are literally rewiring your mind to believe, I am a man of execution. I am a man who decides. I do not delay. I do not wait, and in time, with consistent repetition, that belief doesn't just become a thought, it becomes your unshakable identity. Thomas Edison didn't wait for absolute certainty before he dove into his countless experiments. He began, and in the messy, often frustrating process of action, clarity eventually emerged. Henry Ford didn't wait for universal agreement or a chorus of approval before he started building his audacious vision. He acted first, with conviction, and forced the world to adjust to his reality. You, too, must decide. Will you continue to cower in the shadows, waiting for the phantom of fear to magically pass? Or will you courageously act and watch fear itself retreat in the face of your momentum? Because the truth is brutally simple. Fear does not vanish with the mere passage of time. It vanishes with purposeful movement. Do not be the man who spends another precious year just thinking about change. Do not be the man who eloquently talks of his grand vision, but stubbornly refuses to walk that first, crucial mile. Do not be the man who allows a fleeting moment of hesitation to steal decades of potential destiny. You are not on this earth to delay. You are here to decide. You are not here to drift. You are here to move. You are not here to be perpetually ruled by your fluctuating moods. You are here to rule your own damn mind. Repeat after me and let it resonate through every cell of your being. I act when it's hard. I decide without delay. Let that be your daily battle cry, your morning declaration of intent. Let that be your unyielding command when your feet feel heavy with hesitation and your hands tremble with uncertainty. For it is not the man who meticulously plans the most who ultimately wins the prize. It is the man who moves first, who courageously adjusts while in motion, and who flatly refuses to waste another precious year waiting. This is the immutable law of immediacy. This is the unwavering standard of true power. You do not rise by passively waiting. You rise by decisively deciding, and then acting, again and again and again, until the world itself bends to the unshakable will you forged in the quiet furnace of your resolve. Every man, from the pauper to the prince, has felt the icy grip of fear. Every man who ever dared to build something lasting, who took a stand for something meaningful, who left an indelible mark on the world, walked his path with fear as his unwelcome companion. But let me draw for you the clear, bright dividing line between the average man, lost in the crowd, and the truly great man, who towers above it. The weak man obeys his fear. The strong man does not. He feels it undeniably. He sees its shadowy form. But he absolutely refuses to let it take the lead, to dictate his steps. Think of Thomas Edison. Was he fearless? Not a chance. He stared down the barrel of 10,000 apparent failures before that first fragile filament of the electric light finally glowed with stubborn incandescence. What man could endure that relentless gauntlet without a tremor of fear? He surely feared wasting his life, his resources, losing his credibility, becoming a laughingstock in the eyes of the world. And yet, he moved forward anyway. Consider Henry Ford. Was he immune to doubt? Far from it. He was branded a fool, a delusional dreamer, a man chasing an impossible fancy. He risked everything, his finances, his reputation, his entire future, on a vision almost no one else believed in. And yet, he built it anyway. Reflect on Abraham Lincoln. Was he impervious to the crushing weight of darkness? Absolutely not. He carried the soul of a fractured, warring nation upon his weary shoulders, through the inferno of civil war and an endless barrage of bitter criticism. But he did not retreat from fear. He carried it like a heavy shield into battle. And Andrew Carnegie, who rose from the stark poverty of an immigrant boy to become one of the wealthiest and most influential men the world has ever known, he was no stranger to the gnawing anxiety of immense responsibility, the chilling fear of catastrophic failure, the nagging fear of simply not measuring up. But he did not surrender to that fear. He mastered it. And so I say to you now, with absolute conviction, fear is not your enemy. Fear is a signal, a guidepost, a messenger. But the very moment you choose to obey it, to bow down to it, to meticulously shape your decisions around its cautious whispers. You have willingly handed it the throne of your life. You have, in effect, crowned it your king. Most men never grasp this crucial distinction. They foolishly believe that fear must entirely vanish before they can dare to begin taking action. They wait, often a lifetime, to magically feel brave. They wait for the clouds of doubt to miraculously disappear. And so they wait forever. You do not wait for fear to fade into oblivion. You move anyway. That, my friend, is what fundamentally separates the man who merely dreams from the man who becomes. Fear, you see, thrives in the fertile soil of imagination. It grows fat and strong in the suffocating silence of inaction. It multiplies with horrifying speed when left unchallenged. It expertly builds imposing castles of dread in the mind, each dark chamber filled with meticulously detailed disasters that have, in reality, never happened. Fear paints the future with broad, terrifying strokes of catastrophe. But remember this and never forget it. So took courage. If fear possesses the power to imagine the absolute worst, then you, with your God-given will, must learn to vividly, defiantly imagine the absolute best. You possess a precious gift that the creatures of the wild do not, the unparalleled gift of will, of conscious direction, of sovereign imagination. Use it. When fear attempts to paint a horrifying mural of failure in your mind, you pick up your own brush and, right beside it, paint an even more compelling masterpiece of victory. When fear shows you 100 treacherous ways you could fall, you respond with the one, unshakable way you will rise. Because, truth be told, you only ever need one way. The weak man allows fear to speak, and then he dutifully, unquestioningly obeys what it commands. The great man allows fear to speak its piece, and then he acts with bold, decisive defiance of its warnings. This is precisely how true power is forged. Not by somehow magically removing fear from the equation, but by steadfastly, courageously refusing to serve it. How, then, do you accomplish this feat? Through deliberate, conscious exposure. Daily, repeatedly, you transform fear from a tyrannical master into a mere companion on your journey, one whose voice you acknowledge, but whose counsel you critically evaluate. You consciously walk into those conversations you once painstakingly avoided. You take that one step that feels a little too uncertain, a little too risky. You make the call you've been dreading. You write the letter you've been postponing. You learn to stand unflinching in the uncomfortable silence of momentary discomfort. And you breathe. And you survive. And with each small, courageous act, fear's booming voice begins to lose its authority, shrinking to a mere whisper. This isn't some abstract theory. This is practical, real-world training. Repetition, my friend, fundamentally rewires the nervous system. Every single time you consciously move toward what you fear, you incrementally weaken its grip on your soul. And every time you retreat and obey fear, you unwittingly strengthen its insidious chains. Alongside this courageous practice of deliberate exposure, you must meticulously build powerful rituals of identity. You must remind yourself, daily, with unwavering conviction, precisely who you are in the process of becoming. The world will not offer you this crucial reminder. The world will not whisper gentle encouragements of, "You are strong. You are capable." No, it will more likely echo your deepest doubts. So you must counter its negativity with your own deliberately chosen words, with a vivid, compelling vision, with unshakable clarity. Wake each morning and declare aloud, with the force of a conqueror, "Fear is my signal to act. I walk forward anyway." Say it again, infusing it with more power, with greater certainty. Not because you necessarily feel it to your core in that initial moment, but because relentless repetition is the mighty hammer that forges unshakable belief. Fear is not to be coddled or eliminated. It is to be courageously dominated. You were not placed on this earth to be perpetually ruled by the fleeting shadows that dance in your mind. You are here to command your own direction, regardless of what the shifting winds of circumstance or the cautious whispers of fear might say. And let me tell you this with absolute certainty, you will likely never feel entirely fearless, That is not the goal. You may still feel your hands shake. You may still wrestle with doubt. But you will walk. And that walk, that persistent forward motion, despite the presence of fear, is precisely where your true power is born, where your character is forged. There is no genuine bravery without the presence of fear. There is no authentic courage without an underlying tremor of uncertainty. The fire you feel inside when facing a challenge is not a warning to retreat. It is a profound sign that you are alive, that you are on the verge of something meaningful, something that truly matters. So let fear rise, and then you, with conscious will, rise even higher. Do not pray for the fear to magically leave you. Pray for the unyielding strength to move forward anyway. Do not wait for a deceptive silence in the mind. Bring your own voice, your own powerful affirmations, and speak louder. Do not pause to ask yourself whether you are ready. Decide, with ironclad resolve, that you are, and then go out and prove it in decisive, unrelenting motion. Repeat this with me now, and let it become the unwavering anthem of your new life. Fear is my signal to act. I walk forward anyway. This is your new command. Engrave it upon the tablets of your spirit. Let it be your guiding star in your darkest, most challenging hours. And when you feel that old, familiar, seductive pull to retreat, to delay, to overthink, you will remember these potent words, and you will move anyway. Because fear is not your ruler. And from this moment forward, it never, ever will be again. The man you see in the mirror today is not the man you are condemned to remain. Understand this with every fiber of your being. Identity is not fixed like a star in the heavens. It is installed like powerful software. It is not simply born within you. It is meticulously built. And it is built brick by painstaking brick, decision by deliberate decision, through the silent, often invisible, yet utterly relentless repetition of thought, word, and deed. Your past does not and cannot define you. It only defines the version of you who repeated those past patterns. And unless you consciously choose to keep repeating that same old version, unless you continue to play the same worn-out script, recite the same tired doubts, feel the same suffocating limitations, you are gloriously, absolutely free to become something entirely, magnificently new. But most men, tragically, do not grasp this fundamental law of transformation. They believe they are irrevocably trapped by the chains of their past. They point to their past failures, their missteps, their disappointments, and they sigh with resignation. Well, this is just who I am. But failure, my friend, is not a prophecy etched in stone. It is merely programming, a learned pattern of thought and behavior. It is not your immutable future. It is simply a pattern. And all patterns, no matter how deeply ingrained, can be rewritten, reprogrammed, by a mind that is truly awake, alert, and determined. In my work, particularly in Think and Grow Rich, I have tirelessly taught the immense power of autosuggestion, not as some poetic, feel-good phrase, but as a precise, almost mechanical process of profound personal transformation. When a man consciously, deliberately repeats powerful, empowering ideas, backed by genuine emotion, unshakable clarity, and a burning purpose, he literally rewires his entire belief system. The subconscious mind, that vast, powerful inner continent, does not argue, debate, or question. It simply accepts. It obediently obeys. And what it hears most often, most consistently, and with the greatest emotional charge, it installs as unwavering truth, as your core operating identity. So I ask you again, with utmost seriousness, what are you repeating, day in and day out, in the quiet theater of your own mind? Are you constantly replaying the tired, disempowering voice of your past? The one that insidiously whispers, I'm not good enough. It's too late for me. Nothing ever really works out for me anyway. Or are you actively, courageously rehearsing power? Are you defiantly declaring, I am immensely capable. I rise stronger through every struggle. I consciously shape my world by the sheer force of my focused thought and decisive action, because, make no mistake, what you consistently rehearse, you inevitably become. What you persistently repeat, you indelibly remember. And what you indelibly remember, you begin to unconsciously expect. And what you unconsciously expect, you ultimately begin to live out in your daily reality. Identity at its core is repetition. And if you yearn to shed that old, constricting skin of weakness, hesitation, and gnawing self-doubt, you must speak a new, more powerful identity into existence every single day, not just once in a blue moon, not for a fleeting week, but relentlessly, fiercely, until the weak, whiny voice of your old self grows faint and eventually falls silent, until the strong, resonant voice of authentic strength becomes your only, natural tone. You must choose to repeat power, not perpetuate pain. Let me give you a concrete example, ripped from the annals of achievement. When Thomas Edison faced what seemed like insurmountable failure, unable to produce a viable working light bulb after hundreds, then thousands of frustrating attempts, he did not sigh and say to himself, "Well, I guess I'm just a man who fails." He did not endlessly recite his litany of mistakes. He did not wallow in self-pity or rehearse a narrative of defeat. No! He fiercely, obsessively repeated the desired outcome. He visualized it with an almost painful clarity. He declared its inevitability. He believed in it with a white-hot conviction before the world ever saw a single glimmer of its light. And it was this relentless mental repetition, this unwavering rehearsal of success, even more than the physical invention itself, that made his ultimate triumph virtually inevitable. Henry Ford, that titan of industry, did precisely the same. When legions of doubters and so-called experts scoffed at his audacious vision of a car for the ordinary masses, he didn't engage in endless debate. He simply repeated his core belief, over and over, until it became stronger than the cacophony of voices around him, and even stronger than the inevitable whispers of doubt within his own mind. These men did not merely stumble upon success. They installed it. They meticulously, deliberately wrote it into the very walls of their minds through focused, unwavering repetition and unshakable self-command. And you, my friend, must do precisely the same. Begin today. Begin now. Repeat these potent words and let them echo in your soul. I rehearse strength. I repeat power. Say them aloud, not in a timid mumble, but with thunderous conviction. Say them again tomorrow morning, and the day after that, and every day thereafter. And when that old serpent of doubt inevitably rears its ugly head, and when fear attempts to speak its paralyzing lies, and when the ghost of past failure tries to whisper its poisonous shame, you drown it out with the sheer force of your declared, chosen identity. Because the subconscious mind, my friend, that faithful, tireless servant, does not inherently understand truth in the way your conscious mind does. It understands, above all else, repetition. If you consistently feed it weakness, it dutifully installs weakness. If you constantly feed it doubt, it obediently obeys doubt. But if you feed it power, clarity, and unwavering direction, it meticulously builds a man who simply cannot be broken. And this, I assure you, is not mere theory. This is the fundamental rhythm of all genuine transformation. All lasting change is rooted in repetition. All profound success is built on rhythm. All true greatness is, at its core, the relentless rehearsal of belief, until that belief solidifies into unshakable, undeniable identity. You say you want to be a leader? Then rehearse leadership in your thoughts, words, and actions daily. You say you crave unshakable confidence? Then repeat affirmations of confidence until they become your natural state. You say you desire iron-willed discipline? Then affirm your discipline until it transforms into your new, automatic instinct. Do not, I implore you, rehearse pain. Do not endlessly relive past mistakes. Do not retell the tired, disempowering stories of your failures. Bury them, and replace them not with empty, passive hope, but with potent, daily, active instruction to your subconscious mind. Remember, your subconscious mind is your master builder, and it does not build what you merely want. It diligently, faithfully builds what you consistently repeat. This is precisely why so many men, even after tasting fleeting moments of success, often fall back into their old, self-sabotaging habits. They forget to continue the crucial process of installation. They neglect to consistently repeat and reinforce their new, more powerful identity. And so, the old, familiar self, like an unwelcome but persistent guest, insidiously creeps back in, quiet, comfortable, and lethally dangerous to their progress. You must never stop building. Never stop speaking your new name, your chosen identity, into existence. Never stop reinforcing the magnificent man you are consciously, deliberately becoming, or the weaker man you once were will inevitably reclaim his throne. Write your identity every single day. Etch it onto your soul with the fire of your conviction. Speak it with unwavering authority. Move through your day with the absolute certainty that what you consistently repeat becomes what you undeniably are. I rehearse strength. I repeat power. This is your personal affirmation. This is your divine blueprint. This is the mighty hammer that shatters the chains of your former self. Do not for a moment think this is too simple to be effective. Simplicity, my friend, is often the very secret to profound power. The mind does not require overwhelming complexity to change. It requires crystal clarity, unwavering force, and consistent frequency. Speak your truth. Feel it with every fiber of your being. Act on it with courage. Repeat it relentlessly. And soon, your old self, the one who doubted, delayed, and drifted, will be nothing more than a fading memory. In his place will stand a man of unshakable direction, a man of profound certainty, a man whose every step is carved from the bedrock of unwavering conviction. Because he did not foolishly rehearse weakness. He courageously, consistently rehearsed power. And so power inevitably became him. The future, my friend, does not simply arrive on your doorstep uninvited, like an unexpected package. It is actively, meticulously summoned by the invisible threads of your present habits, by the quiet, often unseen choices you make when no one else is watching, and by the robust system of thought and decisive action you have either diligently built or tragically neglected to build. The year stretching out before you is not some random accident waiting to happen. It is a direct, inevitable consequence patiently waiting to be lived out, a reflection of the seeds you are sowing today. Let me speak to you with the stark clarity this moment demands. Your habits today are already busy writing your calendar, your destiny, for tomorrow, and for all the tomorrows that follow. And every man, whether he consciously realizes it or not, is a constant builder of futures, his own, and often, those of the people around him. The only fundamental difference between the man who achieves resounding success and the man who meets with crushing defeat is this: the successful man courageously, consciously takes authorship of his life story. The defeated man passively allows life, with all its whims and storms, to haphazardly write his story for him. I have stated it countless times before, and I will thunder it from the mountaintops again until it echoes in every corner of your being. You either take firm, conscious control of your own mind, or it will inevitably control you. Now extend that undeniable principle further. You either seize deliberate control of your precious, irreplaceable time, or it will ruthlessly control you. You either command your year with purpose and intention, or it will mercilessly command you, dragging you along paths not of your choosing. There is absolutely no neutral ground in this high-stakes game of life. There is no pause button you can press. Time, that relentless river, is always writing something on the ledger of your existence. What it writes is entirely, utterly up to you. And here is the harsh, uncomfortable truth that most men studiously avoid confronting. What you do each and every day, how you choose to rise from your bed, how you nourish your body, how you direct your thoughts, how you decisively act, this powerful cocktail of daily choices inevitably congeals to become your core identity. And your identity, my friend, like a compass needle fixed on true north, unerringly becomes your ultimate destiny. Your calendar, when inspected with brutal, unflinching honesty, is not merely a list of tasks and appointments. It is a crystal clear mirror reflecting your deepest beliefs. It starkly reveals who you genuinely think you are, what you truly, profoundly value, and precisely how committed you are to your declared purpose. The weak man half-heartedly writes down vague goals. The strong man meticulously designs and implements powerful systems. The passive dreamer idly scribbles down fleeting desires. The active builder consciously installs life-altering rituals. The man who habitually drifts jots down vague, non-committal plans, and then merely hopes for better days to magically appear. But the man who courageously leads himself, the man who seizes his own destiny, consciously, deliberately builds a daily rhythm, a fortress of empowering habits that ensures unwavering progress even on his hardest, most challenging days. Let us speak with unvarnished plainness. You do not magically rise to the lofty level of your ambitious goals. You inevitably, inexorably fall to the ingrained level of your daily routines. Your soaring ambition may indeed lift your eyes towards the distant mountain peaks, but it is your consistent, daily behavior that actually moves your feet up the treacherous slopes. And what you consistently, habitually repeat ultimately determines precisely where you arrive. I once studied a man, a titan of industry, who never, ever let his calendar slip from his firm command, Andrew Carnegie. Each and every week, without fail, he rigorously reviewed his actions, courageously corrected his course where necessary, and powerfully re-anchored his laser-like focus on his definite chief aim. He didn't just hope to make progress. He meticulously engineered it. And that simple, unglamorous ritual of weekly review, that ingrained habit of honest recalibration, was one of the most formidable weapons in his vast arsenal of success. He profoundly understood this truth. A man cannot effectively steer the ship of his life without knowing, with precision, where his precious time is actually going. A ship with no rudder merely drifts at the mercy of the currents, and a man with no disciplined system inevitably becomes a pale, powerless ghost of his own magnificent potential. You must, therefore, become a diligent, unwavering steward of your time. You must not merely use your calendar as a passive receptacle for appointments. You must actively master it, wielding it as a tool of conquest. Time is not some casual convenience. It is a precious, finite currency, and every single hour you spend is a definitive vote cast for the man you are actively choosing to become. If you genuinely wish to rise above the mediocre masses, then install, starting this very week, a sacred ritual of honest review. Sit down with yourself in quiet solitude each week. Ask yourself the hard, uncomfortable, but ultimately liberating questions. What did I actually do this past week that truly aligned with my core mission? What did I passively allow into my life that weakened my resolve or diluted my focus? Where did I act with clear, decisive purpose? And where, if I'm brutally honest, did I allow myself to drift aimlessly? Write down your candid answers. Courageously correct your course. Passionately recommit to your highest vision. You will find more genuine, lasting transformation in one single hour of such honest, unflinching weekly review than you will in devouring 10 thick volumes of fleeting motivational speeches. Because true transformation, the kind that sticks, is not born from mere passive hope. It is forged in the fires of active self-governance, from unwavering discipline, from deliberate, consistent effort applied again and again and again, until it becomes as natural and effortless as breathing. Let me give you another potent tool, one I call calendar discipline. Do not ever begin your week by passively asking yourself, what do I feel like doing today? No. Begin your week, every week, by powerfully answering the pivotal question, what must I do today to honor my sacred mission, to move my deepest purpose forward? That one profound shift, from operating based on fleeting feeling to operating based on unshakable principle, will fundamentally, irrevocably change your entire life's direction. Each Sunday evening, or at any other fixed, non-negotiable time you choose, meticulously review the coming days. Strategically block out sacred, protected time for the deep work that truly builds you, for focused reading that expands your mind, for decisive execution that translates vision into reality, for the unwavering repetition of your core belief systems and affirmations. These activities are not merely optional when you feel like it. These are your spiritual armor, your weapons of mental conquest, and they must be treated as sacred, inviolable commitments. Because your time, my friend, is not just about ticking off a to-do list or achieving productivity. It is profoundly about forging your identity. And what you consistently, deliberately give your precious time to, you inevitably, undeniably become. You do not need a longer year. You need a tighter, more disciplined rhythm. You do not need a better plan, shimmering with complexity. You need a stronger, more unwavering commitment to the plan you already have. You do not need anyone else's permission to succeed. You need the iron will of self-discipline. Every single monumentally successful man I have ever had the privilege to study, from the inventive genius of Edison to the industrial might of Ford to the financial acumen of Schwab, treated their time as their most precious, irreplaceable treasure. They guarded it fiercely, defended it ruthlessly, and allocated it with surgical precision only to that which multiplied them, not that which diminished them. And so must you. Let this be your daily, unwavering affirmation, spoken with power and conviction. My habits honor my mission. My time is mine. Say it with undeniable weight. Let it ring in your ears each and every morning before the seductive distractions of the world attempt to steal your precious hours. Say it with defiance when those distractions inevitably rise, when the siren song of drift whispers its sweet nothings, when the heavy cloak of laziness attempts to knock at your door. Say it until your subconscious mind, that faithful guardian, no longer permits even a moment of needless waste. Because remember this fundamental truth, and never forget it, your time is not just your schedule. It is your very life. And the man who masters his time, with unwavering discipline and focused intent, inevitably masters his destiny. Do not let another precious year simply write itself with the ink of chance and circumstance. Courageously, consciously write it yourself, line by deliberate line, week by purposeful week, habit by empowering habit, until one day you look back not with the bitter taste of regret, but with the profound, swelling pride of knowing that you did not merely hope for a magnificent future. You damn well built one. There is no such thing as neutrality in the realm of identity. If you do not consciously, actively decide who you are, if you do not deliberately choose your core self-concept, your driving purpose, and your non-negotiable values, then understand this with chilling clarity. Someone else or something else already has. It might be the lingering echo of a parent's outdated opinion, the subtle but powerful pressure of your peer group, or the pervasive, often unspoken expectations of a society that frequently prizes comfortable compliance over courageous conviction. But make no mistake about it, the man who fails to definitively define himself is invariably, inevitably defined by others. This is one of the most stark, and often cruelest, truths I unearthed in my decades of meticulous research and intimate interviews with some of the world's most formidable and influential men. Not a single one of them, not one, passively drifted into greatness. Not one of them merely found himself by some fortunate accident. Andrew Carnegie didn't idly hope to become a titan of industry, an empire builder. He decided it with a will of forged steel. Thomas Edison didn't just stumble upon world-changing inventions in a fit of absent-mindedness. He meticulously, deliberately trained himself, day by grueling day, to become the precise type of man who would relentlessly persist until his vision was manifest reality. Henry Ford didn't passively adopt the world's, then current, limited idea of what was realistic in transportation. No! He boldly, audaciously imposed his revolutionary vision upon the world and, through sheer force of will and unwavering action, made the world conform to his new reality. This, my friend, is the immutable law. The world does not shower its rewards upon the man who waits patiently to discover himself. It bends, often reluctantly at first, to the unwavering will of the man who courageously, consciously creates himself, daily, intentionally, and without a shred of apology. And yet the average man, tragically, lives his entire life by default. He passively mimics the fleeting moods and fluctuating opinions of those around him. He unthinkingly adopts language that weakens his resolve and shrinks his possibilities. He blindly follows ideas and ideologies that ultimately make him smaller, not larger. And when inevitably challenged, when the pressure mounts and the stakes are high, he retreats into the comfortable, self-limiting phrases like, "Well, that's just how I am," or "I'm simply not the kind of person who can do that." But what he consistently fails to see, what remains tragically invisible to him, is this fundamental truth. Identity is not a passive description of your current state. It is an active, ongoing decision. And until you courageously make that decision, firmly and irrevocably, your life will never truly be your own. You may indeed breathe. You may continue to exist. But you will never, ever truly live the magnificent life that awaits your command. Identity is not unchangeably fixed in stone from birth. It is dynamically formed and reformed in the crucible of choice and the fire of action. You are not simply born with it. You consciously, deliberately build it. You strategically install it through consistent, unwavering repetition. You anchor it deep within your soul with unshakable, emotionally charged belief. And you powerfully reinforce it with decisive, congruent action every single day of your life. This is precisely why I wrote, with such emphatic conviction in Think and Grow Rich, that one must diligently, consistently engage in the practice of auto-suggestion, the focused, emotionally charged repetition of belief-laden statements spoken aloud with clarity and conviction. This is not merely some superficial exercise in positive thinking. It is the fundamental, mechanical reprogramming of your subconscious mind, the fertile seedbed from which your entire identity sprouts. You must consciously feed your subconscious potent identity statements with the same unwavering regularity and profound seriousness with which you nourish your physical body with food and drink. A man who habitually neglects to define himself daily, to reinforce his chosen identity, is no different in essence than one who forgets to eat. He inevitably becomes weak, vulnerable, and easily swayed by external forces. And let us be brutally clear, someone or something is always feeding you an identity, whether you realize it or not. Every conversation you have, every headline you read, every fleeting look of judgment or approval from those who may have never dared to dream as big as you. It is all programming, shaping your self-concept in subtle or overt ways. The critical question is not if you are being shaped, but by whom. There is a profound reason why I have consistently labeled the man who lacks a clear, burning definite chief aim a drifter, because without the driving, internal force of focused personal will, he simply floats, he bends to every prevailing wind, he conforms to external pressures, he ultimately becomes whatever the world wishes him to be. And let me assure you, the world, by and large, does not wish you to be exceptionally powerful or boldly independent. It generally wishes you to be quiet, predictable, and easily controllable. But the man who consciously, courageously decides who he is, the man who relentlessly affirms his chosen identity with deliberate, unwavering intention, the man who consistently acts in precise accordance with the magnificent individual he has chosen to become, he is, and always will be, utterly unstoppable. Let us return for a moment to the compelling example of Charles M. Schwab, a name synonymous with industrial might. As a young, ambitious man, he was often told he simply didn't possess the innate intellect or the polished pedigree to lead on a grand scale. He was frequently criticized for being too ambitious, too forward-thinking for his own good, perhaps even a bit too brash for the established norms of his time. But he decisively, powerfully rejected those limiting voices. He flatly refused to allow others to dictate his potential or to circumscribe his destiny. Instead, he relentlessly repeated to himself, in the private sanctuary of his own mind, the powerful narrative of who he was actively becoming, until the world, faced with the undeniable evidence of his achievements, had absolutely no choice but to follow his commanding example. That is the awe-inspiring power of unwavering internal conviction. The man who resolutely defines himself cannot be lastingly defined by others. The man who consistently moves from a place of chosen identity cannot be easily manipulated by his external environment. Your environment, my friend, is not your master. It is merely your mirror, and it will always, without fail, reflect back to you the predominant image you project with the most unwavering consistency and emotional intensity. So I ask you, with all the directness I possess, who are you definitively choosing to be? Not who do you vaguely hope to become someday, if all the stars magically align. Not who do you timidly think you might be, if things just happen to go well. But who, right here, right now, in this very moment, before any external evidence has even had a chance to manifest, have you irrevocably decided to be? Identity, my friend, always precedes and shapes reality. The man who passively waits to act until he feels confident will likely never truly become confident. But the man who courageously chooses to be confident and then acts with corresponding power and conviction, inevitably, through that very action, becomes the confident man he first decided to be. This is the profound mystery, the powerful secret that most never uncover. Decisive action powerfully reinforces chosen identity, and chosen identity, in turn, fuels further decisive action. It is a dynamic, self-perpetuating cycle, a powerful loop, one that you can either passively allow to be run by the whims of chance and circumstance, or one that you can courageously seize the reins of and command with unwavering, purposeful intent. You truly want to change your life? Then fundamentally change the way you speak to yourself in the quiet, unguarded moments. Change the core words, the foundational beliefs you repeat when no one else is listening. Change even the physical posture you assume when you walk into a room, not for the fleeting approval of others, but as a powerful, non-verbal signal for your own subconscious mind to witness. Because your mind, that faithful inner observer, watches your every move, notes your every declaration, and silently takes meticulous notes. It effectively says, so this is who we are now. Very well. I shall adjust all internal resources and external perceptions accordingly. Repeat with me now, and let these words become the bedrock of your new operating system. I decide who I am. I do not wait to be told. I walk with certainty, not permission. I move from identity, not emotion. Speak that declaration every single morning, without fail, and every single evening, as a final seal upon your day. When fear inevitably rises, when uncertainty attempts to knock you off balance, when the specter of past failure threatens to whisper its poisonous shame, you speak it again, louder, with more conviction. You must become your own greatest, most powerful influence. The man who truly leads his own thoughts will, inevitably, lead his world. Let us also vividly remember the immense pressures Abraham Lincoln faced, profound uncertainty, a nation tearing itself apart, the imminent threat of total collapse. Yet, amidst that maelstrom, he did not fundamentally question who he was. He had already decided. And the core identity, forged through years of quiet, unwavering conviction and the principled repetition of his deepest values, became the unshakable anchor of an entire nation during its darkest, most perilous hour. He didn't just feel presidential one day. He decided to be a president worthy of the immense challenge. And that powerful, self-created identity carried him through storms that would have utterly destroyed lesser men. You, my friend, possess that very same latent power within you. It is not locked away in some prestigious title. It is not stored within the pages of an expensive diploma. It is not found in the fickle applause of the crowd. It is meticulously built in the quiet crucible of your own mind, courageously spoken into existence through your daily declarations, and powerfully reinforced with unwavering, consistent discipline. You cannot fake your way into true greatness, but you can and you must repeat your way there. So let me leave you with this final, urgent charge. If you earnestly wish to build a year that you will not look back upon with bitter regret, then begin today, this very hour, by consciously, deliberately building a version of yourself that the world simply cannot ignore. Relentlessly repeat the identity you profoundly desire to embody until it becomes, through sheer force of will and consistent action, the identity you effortlessly, authentically live. Speak it aloud with power. Walk it out with conviction. Act as if it already undeniably exists. Because once you definitively, unshakably define yourself, the world, in its own time and its own way, will eventually bend to your certainty. And when it does, you will not be surprised. Because you will know with bone-deep assurance that it was not luck. It was not timing. It was not fate. It was your chosen identity installed, reinforced, and repeated until it became undeniably, magnificently you. Say it again with me, and let it be a vow. I decide who I am. I repeat it until the world agrees. In my lifetime spent dissecting the core principles of human achievement, meticulously observing the inner workings of powerful, history-making minds, and identifying the silent, insidious killers of boundless ambition, I discovered a profound truth. Nearly all failure, all crippling hesitation, all soul-crushing surrender to the gray plains of mediocrity, stems from 6 basic, universally experienced fears. These fears are so deeply, almost invisibly, rooted in the human experience that most men never even consciously identify them, let alone summon the courage to confront and conquer them. But make absolutely no mistake, my friend, if you do not courageously face down these shadowy adversaries, they will quietly, systematically dismantle every single cherished dream you've ever dared to hold. They do not typically arrive like roaring, destructive storms. They do not bellow and threaten. No! They whisper. They subtly influence your thoughts. They insidiously weaken your willpower, and they expertly, tragically, turn potentially strong, capable men into aimless drifters. These 6 basic fears are the invisible, yet incredibly strong, chains that keep the vast majority of men from truly rising to their full, magnificent potential. But here is the empowering truth. What one man has courageously conquered, any man can conquer, if he is but willing to diligently study, unflinchingly face, and systematically overcome. Let us now examine each of these fears, understand its ancient root, and forge a clear, actionable strategy for liberation. 1. The fear of poverty. Nothing paralyzes a man faster, or more completely, than the knowing, persistent fear that he will not have enough, that he will be found wanting. The fear of poverty is arguably the oldest, most primal, and most pervasive of all human fears. It relentlessly drives men to play small, to desperately cling to the illusion of security, to timidly hoard their precious talents instead of boldly investing them in the pursuit of grander visions. It is crucial to understand that it's rarely the actual lack of money that destroys a man's spirit. It is the crippling fear of lacking. This fear is deeply rooted in our ancient survival instincts, forged over centuries of genuine hardship and life-threatening scarcity. But in our modern world, for most, it no longer serves a vital protective purpose. Instead, it enslaves. How many countless men have tragically denied their true destiny, their unique calling, because of the paralyzing fear of losing a regular paycheck? How many have abandoned breathtaking visions in weary favor of playing it safe? The man perpetually ruled by this insidious fear will never, ever take the calculated risks that are absolutely essential for achieving true greatness. How, then, do you overcome it? You build unshakable faith through consistent, value-driven action. Genuine wealth, in all its forms, naturally flows to the man of authentic value. Begin, today, to consistently provide exceptional value, and you will initiate that positive flow. Develop and relentlessly pursue a definite chief aim. A powerful, burning purpose acts as a fierce incinerator of poverty-based thinking. When you are laser-focused on what you are passionately building, you cease to neurotically worrying about what you might potentially lose. You must also actively practice and cultivate abundance thinking. Constantly, deliberately remind yourself that there is always more opportunity, more ingenious ideas, more unique value to give to the world. Affirmation: I do not fear poverty. I create abundant wealth through inspired service, audacious vision, and unwavering discipline. 2. The fear of criticism. More noble dreams have tragically died stillborn from this single fear than from all actual failures combined. The fear of criticism, of judgment, of ridicule insidiously turns potentially bold, world-changing men into silent, hesitant observers, forever on the sidelines of life. It keeps brilliant books unwritten, groundbreaking businesses unstarted, powerful, life-altering speeches unspoken. It subtly, persistently teaches a man to disastrously trade his precious, unique vision for the fleeting, often insincere, approval of others. This fear is frequently rooted in childhood experiences. Many were unintentionally shamed for speaking out, mocked for daring to try something new, or laughed at for dreaming too big, and so, the subconscious mind, that faithful recorder, tragically learned, be quiet, conform, stay safe. Don't rock the boat, but no man in the entire history of humankind has ever risen to a position of true power or lasting influence by remaining timidly silent. Every great leader, every visionary innovator, every single man of genuine consequence has been criticized, often violently, publicly, and relentlessly. Yet, they stood their ground anyway. How do you overcome it? You consciously, deliberately detach your self-worth from the fluctuating opinions of others. Understand deeply that critics rarely, if ever, build anything of lasting value. They primarily observe and comment. Their voice possesses absolutely no intrinsic weight or power unless you choose to assign it to them. You must diligently build unshakable internal validation. Courageously praise yourself when you move forward with integrity and courage, regardless of external reactions. Construct a private, internal scoreboard based on your consistent effort and adherence to your principles, not on the fickle applause or condemnation of the crowd. And you must deliberately, consistently act in public, even when it feels uncomfortable. Start speaking your truth more often. Publish your unique ideas. Lead even when your knees are trembling. Affirmation: I am not ruled by the opinions of critics. I am built by unshakable purpose, not by the need for external permission. 3. The fear of ill health. This insidious fear turns potentially strong, vibrant men into chronic worriers, anxious hypochondriacs, and passive, helpless patients in the drama of their own lives. The fear of ill health greedily feeds on every minor ache, every unusual symptom, every strange, fleeting bodily sensation. It becomes like a powerful magnifying glass, distorting small, insignificant signals into massive, life-threatening emergencies. And the more man obsessively focuses on illness, the more he unwittingly programs his own body to eventually fail him. You must deeply understand that your thoughts powerfully influence your biology. The mind that constantly fears sickness will, in a very real sense, invite it. The man who neurotically obsesses over disease will often live in a state of perpetual weakness, even if his physical body is objectively whole and healthy. This fear relentlessly steals joy, extinguishes spontaneity, and drains precious energy. It insidiously keeps men trapped in a perpetual retreat mode, always overly cautious, always hesitant to fully engage with life. How do you overcome it? You adopt a proactive, empowered philosophy of health and well-being. Nourish your body with wholesome foods. Move your body daily with intention and joy. Breathe deeply and consciously, understanding the life-giving power of your breath. You are not fragile. You are a resilient fortress. Use the power of visualization. Vividly, consistently picture your body healing, strengthening, moving with grace and ease. Actively replace your obsession with symptoms with an passionate obsession for life itself. Instead of constantly scanning your body for signs of sickness, diligently scan your world for opportunities for growth, contribution, and joy. Affirmation: I am healthy, strong, and overflowing with vibrant energy. I consciously build my body with empowering thoughts, life-affirming habits, and profound gratitude. 4. The fear of loss of love. This deeply primal fear has tragically brought more corrosive jealousy, consuming rage, and soul-crushing despair into human existence than perhaps any other. The fear of losing love, whether it be the affection of a romantic partner, the approval of a parent, or the admiration of peers, relentlessly drives men to desperately chase approval. to cling neurotically to relationships, even unhealthy ones, and to avoid rejection at absolutely all costs. It is the fertile root of insidious neediness, of suffocating possessiveness, of heartbreaking cowardice in both love and life. The man who lives in constant fear of the loss of love will never, ever act with true boldness or authentic self-expression, for he has disastrously placed his fundamental sense of worth in the unsteady hands of another. But true love, the real, powerful, life-altering kind, can only be fully, deeply experienced by the man who learns to love without crippling fear, the man who courageously stands in his own truth, with or without the applause or validation of others. How do you overcome it? You firmly, unshakably anchor your capacity to love and be loved within yourself, not in some external source. Know your inherent worth, independent of anyone else's validation. Learn to give love freely, generously from a place of genuine abundance, not from a place of desperate need or scarcity. Courageously accept the inherent impermanence of all things in life. All external forms and relationships may indeed fade or change, but the essence of who you are remains. And above all, place your ultimate trust in truth. Speak your truth. Live your truth. Love that is rooted in authentic truth and in profound self-love can never truly be lost. Affirmation: I give and receive love freely, openly, and fearlessly. I do not beg for affection or approval. I stand whole, complete, and strong with or without the validation of others. 5. The fear of old age. This insidious fear has created more quiet despair and resigned hopelessness in men past their perceived prime than almost any other. The fear of aging at its core is not truly a fear of accumulating years. It is, more accurately, a deep-seated fear of irrelevance, a terror of no longer mattering, of being forgotten, of becoming invisible. But let us never forget that the wisest, most impactful souls among us are invariably those who have courageously walked through the fires of life, who bear the honorable scars of experience. The true sage is rarely a callow youth. He is an elder, a repository of lived wisdom. He is the man with decades of experience etched into his soul and profound lessons engraved upon his heart. To the aimless drifter, age indeed signifies inevitable loss and decay. But to the driven, purposeful man, age signifies accumulated power, wisdom, and perspective. How do you overcome it? You consciously, deliberately redefine aging for yourself. Let each passing year add to your strength, your wisdom, your influence, not subtract from it. Remain perpetually in purposeful motion. Embrace new goals, maintain a burning sense of purpose, actively seek opportunities for mentorship. Continue to build, to create, to contribute. Profoundly value the wisdom you have painstakingly acquired. Generously share what you've learned with others. Become a steady, guiding lighthouse for younger men navigating the often treacherous waters of life. Affirmation: my age is my undeniable strength. My accumulated wisdom is my most potent weapon. My driving purpose does not and will not retire. 6. The fear of death. This is perhaps the deepest, most existential of all human fears. The final, inevitable fear. The fear of death particularly paralyzes those who have not truly, authentically lived. It relentlessly terrifies the man who knows, in his heart of hearts, that he has betrayed his unique calling, that he has allowed his most precious dreams to be buried alive, that he has tragically silenced his own authentic voice. It visits him in the quiet, lonely hours of the night and whispers its chilling accusation: you never truly lived. But for the man of unwavering purpose, for the man who courageously builds, who generously serves, who passionately gives, and who inspiringly leads, death is not perceived as a terrifying end. It is, rather, the final, punctuating mark on a life well lived, a story powerfully told. You cannot control the precise timing of your death, but you absolutely, unequivocally can control how fully, how vibrantly, how authentically you choose to live each and every day you are gifted. How do you overcome it? You live daily with a profound, invigorating sense of urgency. Say what truly needs to be said. Do what truly needs to be done. Actively, consciously build a lasting legacy. Invest your time, energy, and resources in work, in relationships, in contributions that will far outlive your physical presence on this earth. And learn to see death not as an enemy, but as a potent, motivating teacher. Let its inevitable approach serve as a constant, powerful reminder to stop drifting and to start truly, fully living, now. Affirmation: I do not fear death. I profoundly fear a life unlived. I rise each and every day with unshakable purpose, and I commit to leaving nothing undone, nothing unsaid, nothing ungiven. Now, let us be perfectly, pragmatically clear. You will likely never fully eliminate fear from your human experience. That is not and should not be the ultimate goal. But you absolutely can learn to courageously outgrow it, to clearly see it for what it is, to accurately name it, and then to deliberately, powerfully move forward anyway. The man who successfully conquers these 6 basic fears does not magically become invincible or immune to challenge. He becomes profoundly intentional. He consciously chooses thoughtful response over conditioned reaction, unwavering purpose over paralyzing panic, decisive action over passive avoidance. He no longer bows down to fear as his master. He learns to walk beside it, acknowledging its presence, but never, ever letting it touch the steering wheel of his life. Repeat these empowering truths. Speak these liberating affirmations daily, with feeling and conviction. Build steadfast rituals around acts of courage, no matter how small they may seem initially. Because if you do not consciously, consistently rise above your fears, they will, with insidious certainty, always drag you far below your magnificent, God-given potential. So I say to you now, and I ask you to speak it with me, with every ounce of resolve you possess. I am not ruled by fear. I face it. I understand it. I rise above it. And I lead my life with unwavering courage and crystal clarity. Now, walk forward into your destiny. The fears will undoubtedly whisper their insidious doubts, but they will not win. Not anymore. There exists a power so potent, so absolutely decisive, so utterly essential to all genuine and lasting success, that without it, no amount of grueling work, no Herculean effort, no breathtakingly beautiful dream shall ever fully come to glorious fruition. That power, my friend, is faith. And before your mind perhaps leaps to confuse it with mere blind belief or passive wishing, let me speak with unshakable clarity. I am not referring to anemic hope. I am not referring to the fickle whims of luck. I am not even primarily speaking of organized religion, though that can be a powerful conduit for many. I am speaking of faith as a distinct, cultivatable state of mind, an emotionally charged, deeply ingrained belief so definite, so utterly commanding, that it literally reshapes the very rhythm of your thoughts and powerfully directs your subconscious mind to act with unerring precision toward the attainment of its object. If the next year of your precious life is to be anything more than just another tired, weary repetition of your last, then you absolutely must develop unshakable, unwavering faith not in the random roll of the dice of chance, not in the predetermined decrees of fate, but in your own profound, innate power to courageously create in your reality that which does not yet visibly exist. Let me remind you, forcefully and unequivocally, every single great achievement throughout human history began not with external action, but with internal belief. Before Henry Ford, that stubborn Michigan farm boy, revolutionized transportation and changed the very landscape of America, he first believed with every fiber of his being that he could. When skeptical bankers scoffed, when supposed experts openly mocked his audacity, when even his own trusted engineers threw up their hands and claimed his visionary V8 engine was an engineering impossibility, Ford didn't waste his breath arguing with them. He simply, repeatedly, with steely resolve, uttered the now famous words, "Build it anyway." That, my friend, is faith in action. Faith backed by unwavering decision, by indomitable will, by a clearly defined identity. Consider Thomas Edison, that titan of invention. When he faced what seemed like an endless desert of failure after disheartening failure, Experiment after fruitless experiment that yielded nothing but frustrating defeat in his dogged pursuit of a practical incandescent light, he did not allow his core belief to waver or crumble. He famously declared, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." It was unshakable faith that carried him through that relentless darkness, not primarily his undisputed talent, not an abundance of resources, and certainly not unwavering public support in those early, lean years. It was faith, pure, unadulterated, industrial strength faith. What, then, is faith truly? Faith is not some passive, anemic state. It is not about sitting back comfortably in your armchair and merely waiting for life to magically improve itself. Faith is intensely active belief. It is a conscious, deliberate mental repetition of profound certainty, a conviction so strong, so emotionally charged, that your subconscious mind accepts it as a refutable truth. And once it does, mark my words, it immediately begins to meticulously organize your actions, your energy, your perceptions, and even the opportunities that cross your path, all in perfect alignment with that dominant, installed truth. You see, the subconscious mind, that faithful, powerful inner servant, does not possess the capacity to discern the difference between objective fact and deeply held belief. It does not engage in logical reasoning or debate. It simply profoundly obeys. If you consistently, emotionally say to yourself, "I am weak, I always seem to fail. I never truly follow through on anything important," your subconscious listens intently. It diligently installs that debilitating identity, and you tragically live it out. But if, on the other hand, you courageously, consistently declare, "I was absolutely made for this. I succeed because I firmly decide to. My unwavering faith is infinitely stronger than any fleeting fear," and you repeat it with raw, authentic emotion, with unshakable conviction, with absolute certainty, then your subconscious mind, that powerful ally, effectively says, "Very well, consider it done," and immediately begins to architect your life around that new, empowering reality. Faith is not some warm, fuzzy feeling that randomly descends upon you. It is a deliberately practiced, diligently cultivated power. It is installed, not mysteriously gifted. It is built like an impregnable fortress, one solid brick of conviction at a time, primarily through focused, emotionalized repetition. This is precisely why I have so long and so tirelessly taught the immutable law of autosuggestion, because the mind will inevitably come to believe whatever it hears most often, especially when spoken by you to yourself with genuine, heartfelt feeling. Let me share with you a profound truth that, tragically, few ever fully accept or implement. You do not need external evidence to believe. You need internal belief to begin seeing the evidence. Faith always comes first. It is the spark that ignites the engine of creation. Every significant breakthrough, every profound transformation, every lasting empire, every world-changing invention, it all began in the fertile mind of a man or woman who, at the outset, likely had no tangible proof, no clearly defined path, only a burning, unquenchable internal fire that relentlessly insisted, "It is possible, and I cannot, stop until it is done." And so, I ask you now, directly and urgently, do you possess that kind of inner fire? Because the next 12 months of your life, my friend, will not ultimately be shaped by your current job, your geographical location, your prevailing circumstances, or your available resources. It will be definitively, powerfully shaped by the depth and intensity of your unwavering belief in your own inherent ability to rise, to create, to achieve. You may say with understandable sincerity, "But Mr. Hill, I don't feel that kind of unshakable belief right now. I honestly don't even know how to begin building it." And to that, I say with unwavering conviction, repetition is the master key that unlocks the vault of faith. You do not need to initially feel strong to begin speaking words of strength. You must courageously speak words of strength until you genuinely, profoundly begin to feel it in every fiber of your being. Here is the precise, actionable exercise I have given to thousands upon thousands of men throughout my lifetime, men who used it to transform their lives, and I offer it to you now as a precious gift, the faith-building ritual. Create a statement of definite purpose, clearly, concisely write down exactly what you intensely desire to achieve in the next 12 months. It must be definite, not vague or wishy-washy. Not I hope to make more money, but I will earn X amount of dollars by Y date through Z specific actions. Be precise. Affirm it aloud twice daily, upon waking, before your mind is cluttered with the day's demands, and again before sleep, allowing it to permeate your subconscious overnight. Speak your definite chief aim aloud, with raw, palpable emotion, with absolute certainty. Let your words ring with the resonance of finality, as if it were already an accomplished fact. Visualize it as already real. Do not merely imagine yourself trying to achieve your goal. Vividly, intensely imagine it as already complete. See the transformed life. Feel the immense pride of accomplishment. Smell the metaphorical air of victory. Walk in your mind's eye within that triumphant, manifested reality. Write and repeat an identity statement. Craft a powerful statement that defines the man you are becoming. For example, I am a focused, decisive, and relentlessly resourceful man. I am not ruled by fear or doubt. I courageously finish what I start, and I always find a way. Repeat this identity statement until you become it, daily, without fail. No excuses. No exceptions. Your identity is like a magnificent sculpture, and each repetition is a decisive strike of the chisel, carving away the excess and revealing the masterpiece within. This ritual, my friend, is not optional. It is the absolute, unshakable foundation upon which all lasting success is built. Because let me be painfully, brutally clear, if you do not consciously, deliberately program your own faith, the world, with its endless course of negativity and limitation, will gleefully, insidiously program your doubt. You will be passively fed beliefs by society, by the pervasive media, by well-meaning but often weaker men around you, beliefs that subtly or overtly tell you to shrink, to wait, to just hope for the best, to be realistic, which is often a euphemism for mediocre. And those passively absorbed beliefs, once repeated often enough, will become the invisible bars of your self-imposed cage. You must not let that happen. The man who courageously, consistently builds his own faith becomes the undisputed master of his own destiny. Let me say that again, so it burns itself into your consciousness. The man who builds faith becomes the master of his destiny. Faith is not weakness. It is anemic wishing that is weak. True faith is concentrated power, laser-focused with intention. It is the profound, unwavering ability to believe with every cell of your being in that which is not yet visible to the physical eye. It is the unyielding capacity to stay the course, to keep moving forward, when tangible results are nowhere yet in sight. It is the courageous, defiant refusal to drift. Carnegie had it. Ford had it. Lincoln had it. And you, my friend, absolutely must build it within yourself. There will be moments, perhaps even tomorrow, when you feel the overwhelming urge to give up. When that old, familiar identity, the one steeped in doubt and limitation, insidiously whispers, "See? I told you. Maybe you just can't do this." And on that challenging day, in that critical moment, you must speak your chosen identity louder than your doubt. You must declare with unshakable conviction, "I am not who I once was. I am actively, powerfully becoming who I consciously choose to be. I was made to create. I was designed to build. I absolutely, unequivocally believe in my God-given ability to finish what I start." And you must say it not just once, not just twice, but until your voice no longer shakes, until your subconscious mind profoundly, completely believes you, until your very posture matches the power of your words, until your daily behavior obediently, consistently follows your internal commands. That is faith in glorious, unstoppable action. You fervently want this next year to be your undeniable breakthrough. Then you must courageously believe it before you can tangibly see it. You must decisively act like it before it becomes glaringly obvious to everyone else. You must fully, irrevocably commit before it feels comfortable or easy. Because faith, true, unshakable faith, is not ultimately proven by mere words. It is proven undeniably and powerfully by consistent, courageous movement. So rise now, my friend. Stand taller than you ever have before. Speak your truth stronger, with more conviction. Walk forward with the unshakable gait of a man on a sacred mission, not because the path ahead is perfectly clear and illuminated, but because you have irrevocably chosen to become the very man who makes the path clear through the sheer force of his will and the light of his unwavering faith. The next 12 months are indeed waiting for you, but they will not wait forever. Claim them now with audacious faith. Shape them meticulously with purposeful repetition, and lead them into glorious reality with an unshakable, indomitable vision. You are not here on this earth to passively drift. You are not here to endlessly repeat the mistakes and limitations of your past. You are here to courageously create a future so profoundly strong, so undeniably magnificent, that even your former self would barely recognize the powerful man you have become. And it all, every single bit of it, begins with belief. You've now heard the immutable laws. You've clearly seen the insidious enemy called drift. You've been shown the powerful weapons of decision and repetition. And now, my friend, you stand at a pivotal crossroads. You must decide. Not someday when the stars align. Not next week when things calm down. But right here, right now. Because your future, that magnificent edifice you dream of, will not magically respond to a fleeting thought. It will not suddenly rise to greet a timid hope. It obeys only one true master, a man who makes a resolute, ironclad decision and then fiercely, relentlessly repeats it daily, through focused thought, empowering words, and decisive action. Let me speak to you with the unvarnished plainness this moment demands. You are not stuck. You are not irreparably broken. You are certainly not too late. You are, perhaps, simply untrained, as yet, in the profound, life-altering discipline of consciously forging your own identity. But that transformative training can begin today, this very instant. And it all ignites with one foundational principle that has echoed like a drumbeat throughout this entire message. Repetition is the very seed of all enduring power. This was the bedrock secret behind Andrew Carnegie's meteoric rise from abject poverty to industrial dominion. This was the core method Thomas Edison employed to build a global empire of world-changing invention. This was the unyielding law Henry Ford lived by as he relentlessly turned widespread disbelief into a thundering industrial revolution. And this, my friend, is the immutable law you must now courageously, consistently live by. Because you cannot simply listen to these words once, however inspiring they may seem in the moment, and then realistically hope to fundamentally change the trajectory of your life. You must return. You must repeat. You must diligently, meticulously install the core identity of the magnificent man you have definitively chosen to become. Think of it this way, with stark clarity, your current beliefs, your ingrained habits, your present results, they were all painstakingly built in precisely the same manner. Through unconscious or conscious repetition, you rehearsed your limiting excuses until they felt like truth. You repeated your nagging doubts until they became your unwelcome companions. You listened more intently to the insidious voice of fear than to the empowering voice of your own divine purpose. And so inevitably, your results became sadly, predictably consistent with that negative programming. But what if, starting right now, this very moment, you decisively reverse that debilitating rhythm? What if instead of habitually rehearsing hesitation and uncertainty, you consciously, deliberately rehearse unshakable certainty and bold action? What if instead of consistently repeating internal dialogues of weakness and limitation, you fiercely, relentlessly repeated affirmations of indomitable strength and boundless potential? What if you committed, right now, to return to this very message, not just once in a while, but daily, as a sacred ritual, and allow these profound truths to meticulously sculpt the unyielding stone of your emerging, powerful identity? Do not, for 1 second, underestimate the monumental power of this principle. Do you truly, deeply desire a new year, a transformed life? Then you absolutely must consciously, deliberately build a new, empowering rhythm. Because the man who listens once is merely entertained. The man who listens twice might be momentarily reminded. But the man who listens and repeats and internalizes until he is fundamentally, irrevocably transformed by the message, that man becomes utterly, magnificently uncheckable. Let me leave you not with a gentle suggestion, but with a direct, unequivocal command. Say this aloud right now, not quietly, not passively, not with a shred of doubt. Say it like your next 12 months, your entire future, absolutely depend on it. Because, my friend, they unequivocally do. I do not drift. I do not delay. I do not obey fear. I am the builder. I am the decision. I am the result. I repeat power daily. I rise by repetition. I finish what I begin. Say it again. Write it down where you will see it every single day. Return to it as a warrior returns to his training ground. Because this is not just a one-time speech you heard. This is your personal blueprint for greatness. This is your most potent weapon against mediocrity. This is your inner fire, lit now and destined to be fanned into an unquenchable blaze by the winds of unwavering, relentless repetition. Now go! The world, with all its challenges and opportunities, will not wait for you. Neither should you wait for it. Your next magnificent year has already begun. So rise now, take command, and own it. Thank you for investing your valuable time with me today. If these words resonated, if that fire within you has been stoked, I'd be honored if you'd hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to this channel for more insights on forging an unbreakable life. Now go out there and build something magnificent.